Support for the show comes from Prime Video, maker of Mr. and Mrs. Smith, which got nominated for 16 Emmy Awards, including Donald Glover, who's fantastic, Maya Erskine, who's also fantastic, and it's a fantastic show. Why wouldn't you want to watch it? And if you're a Television Academy member, watch it at consideramazon.com. You get to go to the special website. You feel like a big deal. It's good.
Hello, my name is Laraine Newman, and everybody told me not to be alone with Jake Hogan. But I didn't listen because I love living dangerously.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Hi there, I'm Jake Hogan, and you are alone with me. Thank you for being here, and thank you guys for your letters and your comments. I really appreciate it. The show has been going gangbusters. And you probably don't know what gangbusters means because you're not from 1923, but it means it's going well. Please continue to write to me at dbawjk@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, suggestions, so we can communicate with each other. I also try to answer comments on YouTube and any place else that I can find them, but the best way is to email me directly. Why wouldn't you just write? Your mother and I worry about you. Why don't you check in? Anyway, today we have a very fun guest, Laraine Newman from Saturday Night Live fame, and from many other things, from movies and TV shows and from animation. And she wrote this really great book called May You Live in Interesting Times that she narrates on audible.com, which you should go listen to immediately because it's terrific. And we're going to talk with her about her experience being young and rich and stupid, because that's what I was when I was young and rich and stupid, working on hit TV shows. And so we've got a lot in common. I'm going to ask her what I did wrong and what she did wrong and how we could be better people now. That's it. The other thing I just want to say before we go to the show is it's been tough, some tough times around here and with me and life in general. And I've been a little sad, and I started seeing a shrink because I wanted to feel better. So just wanted to be open about that. So if you're feeling bad and you're feeling down, I recommend getting help. I'm getting help, and so it's a good thing. And I'm sure that Laraine, when we talk to her, might agree. So there's all that. So we'll be right back with Laraine Newman.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
Thank you for being here.
It's my pressure.
Yeah, it is your pressure.
Yes.
I pressured you for over weeks and weeks and weeks. So, Laraine,
Not at all.
thank you for
Not
being here.
at
No,
all.
I've literally, a lot of emails were sent. A lot of emails. Because you're that important.
Oh, you.
And we kind of know each other through improv, and we've been taking some classes together and know that.
Yes.
But I knew many years before, and socially, you're at Tom Gamble's wedding.
That's right. Yeah.
And other things. But the other thing about you is you're Laraine Newman, and that means something to me because Saturday Night Live
Yes.
was a very important TV show in my growth,
How old were you when it started showing?
In 1975, I was 12.
Perfect age.
Yeah, and I was babysitting. I was staying up late, and I saw the George Carlin
Oh my
episode.
God! Wow.
And I was like, this is great.
Wow.
And I was a TV nerd already back then. And
Wait. You were babysitting?
Yep.
Who were you babysitting?
When in 1975, all it took to babysit was the parents want to go out and somebody slightly older than their kids would come and watch the kids.
Oh.
So I was babysitting neighbors for money. I would make,
Nice.
like $3 an hour to babysit and basically make sure they got to bed, make sure no horrible thing happened to them until the parents got home.
And do you think that prepared you for parenthood, or did?
It prepared me for my parents' parenthood, which is just ignore the kids and just do what you want and watch TV. My parenthood was much, and I don't know, probably your parent, the way you parented is probably pretty involved. I'm a
Helicopter.
super involved parent, unlike my parents who were just didn't know
Right.
anything.
Right.
Literally.
Benign neglect.
Absolutely. But they were also young people. I was old when I had my kid.
Me too.
And
Yeah. They were not keeping me from doing anything I would rather be doing
exactly
than being their mom.
Exactly. I loved it. I loved the
Me too.
job and I wanted to do it. And I'm like happy to wake up and do stuff and happy to drive them everywhere and all that.
Yeah.
Opposite of my parents who did not wake up when I got to school. I had made my own lunch. I came home to an empty house and made my own, whatever snacks I wanted. I was snack king and I watched TV until somebody said, shouldn't you do your homework? And then I said, oh, I lied and said I did it already. And then
were you one of those kids that could get away with not doing their homework and still make decent grades?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I hate you.
I flew right through school.
Damn it.
Doing any work at all. Yeah, no, laziness. It promoted a whole lifetime of laziness. Like, why do I have to work so hard?
Right. I've gotten away with it.
Exactly.
That's my pattern.
Exactly.
My neural pathways are trained to that.
It is. And but then when you find something you're excited about doing, then all that goes out the window until you get to do it. So I have a million questions for you. First of all, let's talk about Saturday Night Live a little bit.
Okay.
And here's the thing. And the show is ostensibly about me. Don't Be Alone with Jake Hogan is about me sort of trying to find answers to my own life's questions through talking to really cool, interesting people.
That can work.
And you're that person.
Well, thank you.
So one of the reasons I want to talk to you about Saturday Night Live is because at a very young age, you were thrust into a cultural touchstone that you probably didn't see coming.
Who knew?
Right.
No.
You did not see coming, and you probably didn't know what to do with when you got it. And similarly, when I was a young man, I fell into The Simpsons. It was a roller coaster, man. When it hit gigantic. Yeah. And lots of opportunities were thrown our way, and I squandered so many, and I chose.
Don't get me started, honey.
Well, no, I am getting you started. So describe your experience.
Well, here's Saturday Night Live. Lorne Michaels saw me in the Groundlings. He was producing a Lily Tomlin special, and they needed some extra actors for the special. So they came and saw the show, and they hired me.
Just you?
Me and Archie Hahn and some other Groundlings. And so I did that show. And then he came again. I didn't know he was there. And this is galling to so many people who have gone through the gauntlet of auditioning for SNL, because that was not my experience. I did not know I was auditioning.
Right.
So just,
Yeah. Well, that's
it was great for me because
lucky.
I have terrible, performance anxiety. So after seeing me, I was doing new characters, new material. He invited me to the Chateau Marmont to discuss a show that he was going to be doing. And he described it to me as a cross between Monty Python and 60 Minutes. Well, I had never heard of Monty Python. It was not on in LA. It didn't start until after I had gone to New York.
Okay.
It did start showing in 1975, but after I had gone to New York. So he says, it's going to be 13 weeks with a 5-year option. And I'm thinking, like, that'll ever happen.
Right.
Because even though I had this was like my first big show, I had seen so many other people do summer replacement shows that was the limit. That was the end of it. So
you were pals with Sonny and Cher and Glenn Campbell. And, sure, I got it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
Sammy Davis Jr. So, I drove cross country with my boyfriend in his VW Bug, packed everything I had, including all my costumes and written material.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed in the Village for a couple days.
What was your boyfriend going to do in New York while you were working?
Hard to know. But he ended up, Arthur Sellers, really talented writer.
Okay.
He ended up going back to LA and writing for Tony Orlando's show.
Oh, fantastic.
So the 4th day we were there, the VW Bug was stolen.
Okay.
With everything I had.
Sure.
So going into the show, I did not have any of my costumes or any of my written material. Mm-hmm. Now, Lorne was the only person that had ever seen me do anything.
Right.
So he asked that I put something together for the writers. Well, this was a time when I really was aware that I was auditioning.
Right.
And that was really scary for me.
Okay.
And because I could only remember, I hadn't performed the material in a long time, I didn't remember like the connective tissue that led to the jokes.
Piecing back together an act without the written script is really hard.
Yeah. So it was not the best foot forward.
Right.
But I think
I'm sure those guys were so kind. Those writers
everybody they were.
Really?
Yeah, everybody.
They seemed like a hard bunch.
No, I mean, they were to some extent, but they were not unkind to me.
Okay, that's
at
good.
all.
All right.
But, I think that they got an inkling of what the characters were like. And so I couldn't believe the material we were doing. I mean, looking at Michael O'Donoghue's stuff and looking at, Chevy's stuff and Belushi's stuff. I loved the writers. I had never encountered written voices like that. And it was a great assembly of different styles and tones. Gilda and I were cast, and we watched a lot of the auditions. We watched Jane's audition, which was fabulous. Something about a hurricane party. And it was between her and Mimi Kennedy, who was also fantastic. Right. And so after that, I did my little audition, and then I did Sherry's monologue, the Valley Girls, character for... I think something you can find it online. I think it's on YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
Everybody did a little bit of an audition.
Right.
So then, we're doing this material that I cannot believe is on the air. And we knew we were in a time slot that was kind of dead. Right. It was supposed to be in lieu of reruns of The Tonight Show.
So there's a freedom there, though.
Absolutely.
You can do whatever the hell you want.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that was really the beginning.
Yeah.
Of just thinking, this is our little world, our little microcosm, and nobody's watching.
Right.
So let's just do this stuff that makes us laugh.
At what point did you know this is a big deal?
When Gilda and I would be walking on the street on a Sunday and people would yell out lines that we'd said the night before, that's when it was like, hey, people are watching.
Right.
That was exciting.
And did you then think, how long can we ride this train? Or is it was early on, so I'm still sure committed to SNL, but then figuring out, does this lead to anywhere else? Is it
well, you see, the thing you mentioned about missed opportunities,
right.
I think when you're really that young, you're very myopic, and it's like one foot in front of the other. At least it was for me. Mm-hmm. And I've never been a person that saw the big picture. So all I was focused on was airtime, which I think is par for the course for any cast member.
That's all they think about. Sure. Yeah. Because it's a battle, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But fortunately for me, I've started doing movies also at that time. Yeah. So that was really affirming for me. I felt really great about that.
Awesome. When the year that Lauren left and everybody sort of left with him, how was that moment for you?
Well, Jay, I knew what I was facing because having grown up partially in Beverly Hills, I saw the faces of actors that had been on a series and then were no longer on.
Right.
One. And I never wanted to have that look on my face, but indeed I did.
Sure.
I knew what I might be facing.
Right.
And that is what happened. And, I had a very good agent, Michael Black at ICM, and, they packaged their actors. So I never stopped working. I've never stopped working.
Right.
Except for the year I had my 2 children.
Right.
And then what I ultimately did was change an aspect of what I was doing. Looking at my skill set, I felt like animation was really more suited to what I could do. Mm-hmm. And I also developed this incomprehensible, and I don't know how and why, fear of being on camera. Of being observed.
Interesting.
And I'm still working on it in therapy, Jay.
Well, I mean, can we delve into that? So you came out of high school and you applied to Million acting class and you did Marcel Marceau's school and you did stuff that you're going to be in front of people all the time. And then, and so it was cool then.
Well, it's not uncommon.
Or did you have anxiety then?
Well, I had anxiety if I was being tested. But no, I was very free on stage, and I still am free on stage.
You certainly are. I perform with you on a regular basis, and I saw you the other night at the Groundlings 50th anniversary women's show, and it was so good.
Everybody was so great.
It was, okay, so the Groundlings, I don't know when this is going to air, but this year, the Groundlings is celebrating its 50th anniversary. If you get a chance to go to the Groundlings and see any of the shows that they're doing, they're spectacular.
They
really
have
50 years of incredibly talented people to pick from and do stuff with, and it was the most fun show I've seen in a long time.
Interesting. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And what was interesting about it is that I've seen a lot of these performers develop at the Groundlings, and I just appreciated them.
Yeah.
And it, I'd never worked with them before, and it was like we all had this common language, and
Right.
it worked so beautifully.
Support for this show comes from Prime Video, makers of Fallout, which just got 17 Emmy Award nominations. 17! Including drama and writing, and Walton Goggins, who's good in everything and deserves an Emmy nomination for just walking around, got a nomination, but the show's really good. I drive around Los Angeles thinking it's a post-apocalyptic nightmare, but not so. On this show, you'll see a real post-apocalyptic version of Los Angeles, and it's fantastic. It's beautiful and creepy and interesting and compelling, and you gotta watch it. Please, TV Academy members, go to consideramazon.com and watch the damn thing. It's worth your time.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
So you're free as a bird on stage at the Groundlings in front of the 99-seat theater.
Yeah.
And then, so what's the difference?
Well, I think, first of all, I think if you get older, when you get older, you become more aware of your limitations.
Okay.
And every time I would see myself on screen, it's like, God, that's not what I thought I was doing.
Right.
And I don't like that. I don't think that's good. I don't think it's truthful. And I don't know how to get through. So,
You know how I do it? Because I'm sometimes on screen.
Yes.
I act and I don't watch myself.
well, that's what I stopped doing.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
don't watch myself, and I just worry about being in the moment of the thing
Mm-hmm.
and then not worrying about, it's not my problem.
Right.
And if it's not my show, it's not my problem.
Absolutely
What's,
true.
you know.
And I don't watch myself
Yeah.
anymore, but it was also the audition process.
Oh, horrible.
It became harder
Yeah.
and harder for me, to where I was like, the time between knowing I had an audition and actually doing it,
Right.
I was a dead man walking.
Okay. Yeah.
You
yeah.
know, it was just, I couldn't concentrate on anything. It was just, I felt sick.
Do you still
you
feel
know.
this way sometimes?
I don't work on camera unless it's an offer,
All right. Because I will have Richard Kind to come in here and scream at you on he was on my show.
I love
and he
Richard.
talked about
Oh.
why auditioning is great and
Yeah,
why
there are some people-
I'm perfect for the role and they're lucky if they can get me.
Yeah, God
I
bless
walk
him.
into it and I know what I'm doing, and if they want me, fine, and if they don't, it's their loss.
God, what I would give for that brain chemistry.
I know, it's
Yeah.
fantastic.
It is
But-
great.
But he's right in that the mindset of it, just like the mindset of an improv game,
Mm-hmm.
is just walking into it and clicking into the thing of, I'm good, I'm going to give them my goods, and fuck them if they don't choose that, but who cares?
Usually if I know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
then I'm cool. And it's like, if I did everything I felt I wanted to do in that audition, let the chips fall where they
Right.
may. But quite often what I would find is, I don't know what to do with this material.
Right.
I don't know how to make it funny.
Right.
And so that's very distracting
Sure.
during an audition,
Yeah.
to be in that position and not be committed to anything because you don't really have a take on it.
But you're super smart and you know comedy, so is the thing that you're reading sometimes just shitty? Is the thing just shitty?
Jay, because of my own pathology, it's always me.
No, okay.
Honest to God, it never occurred to me the material was bad.
Okay.
I always thought that it was because I didn't know how
As
to
somebody
act.
who often has written bad material, it is sometimes incumbent upon them. I give it to the performer, like, I hope you can save me. I hope you can find something funny here.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
Well, there are so many people who can.
That's true. There's so many people who can. But so you have this thing where you don't audition, but people know you and
Every so
offers you
often,
stuff.
I read for a Chuck Lorre thing that I did somewhat recently because I knew what to do.
Right.
And I got it,
Okay.
and I was offered a show, Ghost, and
Yep.
I did that up in Canada because I knew what to do, but that was just an offer. So
Yeah.
it's like, well, if they want me.
The problem
Yeah.
is audition isn't fun anymore because it's all on tape there.
Yeah.
You send them in.
Yeah.
So that kinda sucks.
My daughter, because Jay, you see, the technology involved in putting yourself on tape is
Right.
difficult for me.
Sure.
So Hannah helps me with that.
So you have 2 children, who are both in show business.
Yes.
You have kids, show business kids. You're a show business person with show business kids.
I am.
Okay, so Hannah Einbinder, I just saw her special, fantastic.
You liked it? Thank
Loved
you.
it.
I'm so
Loved it.
glad to hear
Loved
that.
It.
Thank
It
you,
was
Jay.
like some combination of comedy and jazz poetry.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really different and unique, and
yeah.
I love that about it.
And
What I did with both my kids, what kept me from blowing my brains out when I was driving them to school and having to listen to Radio Disney,
right.
was to play Patton Oswalt,
Right.
Maria Bamford, the Sklar brothers for them. And this
All
is
future guests on our show.
Oh,
Well, actually,
really?
the Sklar Brothers has been on, but Patton keeps pushing me off. But I'll get him.
And Maria's been on?
No, she's coming. She's
Oh,
coming. Though.
God, she's the best.
Yeah, I love her.
So, what I said to them when they seemed to want to be
Actually, I
doing
should be
this-
clear. Patton has said he'll do it. Maria has not yet said she'll do it, but I'm going to
Okay.
get her to say she'll do it because I love her so much, and I sort of hovering around her world to try and get her.
We were backstage. We did a show at Largo somewhat recently, and Bobcat Goldthwait said to her, "You're my favorite comedian." And I had just heard her being introduced or talked about on Conan's show, and people saying she's a genius, which she is.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, she's everybody's favorite comedian. And if I hear the word genius one more time, but she really is.
Yeah, she really is.
And I told my kids, if you're going to do this, see everybody so that you don't do that.
So you don't do
That.
what? What they're
Don't
doing?
do what they're doing.
Oh,
That
do
you
something
have to
different,
come
yeah.
from a totally different place. That's the only way that you can be remotely competitive, is to come from a truly original place.
Yeah.
And hopefully they took that to heart, but they're both so talented and so different from, and they're so much better than I ever was.
All right. So you've found a way to sort of make show business comfortable for you.
Exactly.
And that's good.
Exactly what I did. Thank you.
And ride the ride of show business, which I'm on, we're all on, which is their ups and then their downs.
Sure.
And it's like, okay, well, I grew up watching people who were like the most famous people in the world, Harvey Korman and Lyle
God.
Wagner and all
Yeah.
that. And then 15 years later, nobody knows who those
Yeah.
people are.
Yeah.
And it's shocking
It
in some
is.
ways. And then in other ways, it's like, oh, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know how to respond to that other than you're absolutely right.
It's-
And it's strange.
it is
I mean,
strange.
my oldest was at a party. This was years and years ago in Flint Ridge.
right.
And
Is Spike the oldest?
Spike is the
Okay,
oldest.
yeah, all right.
And those kids didn't know who Groucho Marx was.
Right. I was in a writer's room and writers didn't know who Groucho Marx was.
Yeah.
And then I said,
And they're more current people that they've never heard of.
yes.
I'm
like an old bitter man. Like, what's
Well,
wrong with these kids
no.
today?
I
And
mean-
also the internet. You can watch them
Exactly.
instantly, now, this second. What is wrong with you people? You're watching YouTube. You're watching this
For
on YouTube?
Christ's sakes. Is that
Jesus.
on? That's
Yeah,
not on.
They're all on.
That is
They're
not
all
on, is
They're
it?
all
There's
on.
no light.
There's no light. He doesn't do the cut. They're all taping all at the
Okay.
same time.
All right.
So that's they edit this show later.
Read a book.
No, don't read a book. Watch TV.
Yeah,
I'm not
okay.
gonna make any money if people read books.
All right,
This
all
is
right.
ridiculous. I can't make any money if people just keep going to
Goddamn books.
Ugh. All right. So tell me the pitfalls of fame, being super famous, and then sort of leaving the show, and then figuring out, okay, now what?
Well, the pitfalls are, as we just described.
Right.
If you're not current, you don't exist.
Right.
It's like, because I've been making my living in animation, which is really anonymous, people think I haven't been working.
Right.
And that is like really hard for me. I mean, it's hard on my ego, I have to say.
Right.
Also because it's such a hard gig to break into. But fortunately, they go to the same people all the time. So I've been very blessed in that field and have
sure.
worked nonstop.
It's a lot easier to cast you than it is to cast somebody I don't know. In other words, as a producer, if I didn't know who you were, if I was just a guy who'd watched you in some of your movies and seen you years ago on SNL, I was like, do you want to? Yes, that's an easy yes, because okay, I know who that is. I know what you bring to the table. Whereas the other way is to have to work and audition people and have to figure that out, and that's harder. Takes
But
more
I
time.
think, the thing about fame is that it infantilizes you in a lot of ways. People, the people surrounding you take care of you in a way that is almost like for any kind of, deficit that anybody has emotionally,
Yeah.
it's so fulfilled by that, can I get you this? Can I
Right.
get you that?
Right.
Oh, somebody sent a whole line of makeup to you. You didn't even ask for it.
Right.
They just want you to be able to say you wear it.
Sure.
And that's, my God, the stuff that Hannah gets sent is just incredible. Clothes and makeup and, it's just incredible. But, it does infantilize you in a way because everybody around there, everybody surrounding you is there to make your life easier.
I guess so, but there is a Faust-like bargain to all of that.
Absolutely,
And-
because then when it's gone, it's almost like, if you're not well adjusted, it's like being abandoned.
Remember, there was a place called the Nike Celebrity Center. Did you ever go to
I've
the...
never heard of it.
Okay, so Nike shoes had a celebrity center.
No
and they
kidding.
would take celebrities and dress them in Nike. Like every kind of Nike. It was in Marina Del Rey.
Wow.
And they had sport courts.
Free shit.
And all kinds of free shit, but not just free shit. A basketball court, a batting cage, tennis thing, so you could practice in your sneakers to see which ones you liked and do all that stuff. And then they would bring idiot producers like me and say, "Come on to the Nike thing," and then we'll do it. And then they say, "You take whatever you want, just make sure that your characters are in Nike shoes." And you go, "What? Wait." Not all my characters would wear Nike shoes. Like I wouldn't. I have lots of characters that would not be in a Nike sneakers. Well, but that's the thing.
It's
They go like,
payola. Wow.
Yeah, and I wanted the Nike sneakers, but I didn't want my characters who didn't belong in them to be in them. And
That is a Faustian issue.
Nothing's free. Nothing's free.
Nothing is free.
But I would like to be infantilized a little bit. I wasn't.
Sure.
They don't do that with writers. They don't take care of us. We don't do that.
Yeah.
It's all right.
But I mean, it is
we're not
very
famous.
seductive to have that kind of thing happen.
Sure.
And I've watched it with both my kids, the way that they're treated now,
Right.
which is, they're absolutely coddled in every imaginable way, gifted things that they can afford to buy. I mean, that was the thing, all the stuff, the free stuff that I got, I could afford it then.
Right. Right.
Then when I had kids and I had all these expenses,
Right.
it's like,
No free stuff.
I could sure use that free stuff now.
Right. Yeah. Then they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So so what do you tell your kids about this?
I don't want to harsh their mellow.
Right.
I think that they've had enough. They've also been friends with, my older one was friends with one of the Willis kids, and the younger one went to school with, all the kids, movie star kids. So they kind of know, what can happen,
Right.
what anybody is facing in a career. I don't really feel like at this point I want to say, well, you're riding a wave now, but it's not going to last. And I don't want to say that.
But protect yourself.
Yeah.
Like you still can say, and I'm sure you do, protect yourself. Be careful about what you agree to, and things that seem too easy sometimes are. And they're both super smart kids, so they don't need your advice too much.
I am so proud of Hannah. She was offered a campaign that involved AI, and they offered her an amazing amount of money.
Right.
And she said, "This is what we struck about."
Right. Exactly.
And she turned it down, which was like, I mean, that money was really hard to turn down.
I bet.
But so I was so proud of her for doing that.
I'm a writer, and my entire career depends on that. We not use AI to make things, but I would take that money this second, in an instant, right now. Right now. I'm just telling anybody out there, if you want me to advertise your AI thing, because Hannah Einbinder won't do it, I'm available. That's all I'm saying.
Maybe I shouldn't have said
that. No, I don't know. But it's if the computers take over, they're coming after Hannah first.
Oh shit!
Uh-oh.
Made her a target.
Yeah.
God.
So when we were doing it, we don't have to discuss this if you don't want to, but some of the demons that you talked about, you said were going to be dark in the show. You said get ready for some of the dark demons. Some of them was addiction, which I know was something that was going on. Drugs was flowing freely at the SNL days.
Well, that was the culture at the time, but it was also, I mean, I came there with a habit.
Okay.
I came there with a coke habit.
Yeah.
So it was, now I had access and money.
Right.
That's all. I mean, it's so funny to me how there's a common belief that somehow people get involved in drugs because they can't handle the fame, man.
Right.
It's like, no, they're addicts.
Right.
And they were addicts when they got there.
I guess there's a feeling though that, and this could be absolutely wrong, that if you have a writing night that goes from 9 at night until 4 in the morning, their stimulants is probably going to be on the menu.
Yeah, but there are some people that just, Danny didn't use coke. He wasn't a coke user.
Yeah.
He smoked pot, you know. But coke is so retro. I can't imagine that anybody uses it now.
When I arrived in the early 80s, that stuff wasn't happening.
Yeah, it was over.
It was over.
Right?
Yeah. I think you could get fired for doing drugs.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's.
Well, I think people did Adderall for a while.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I guess so. But
I wouldn't know.
Yeah. I guess so. So how did you overcome did it become a problem? Let's put it that way, because not every addiction becomes a problem.
Yeah.
But did it become a problem? And if so, how did you handle it?
I was one of those people that isolated when I did drugs. Mm. And it got to the point where anything that intruded in my life, like, God forbid, an audition, it felt like an intrusion.
Right.
I mean, this is very dark, but I just wanted to not think and not feel until I died.
Right.
But it wasn't happening fast enough.
Right.
And I wasn't exactly suicidal. It was like a slow-moving coup.
Sure. No, I get it.
Except in our country now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. There's a depressive quality about the numbing of yourself and the numbing of your fears and just tamping everything down. I totally get that.
When people go into recovery, everybody talks about the moment of clarity. And I had one of those moments of clarity. I'd had yet another bad audition. And my agent, God bless him, Michael Black, called. He said, "How'd it go?" And I said, "Well, I was terrible." He said, "Good. I'm glad you're aware of that, because I got to tell you, honey, they called me to ask me what was wrong with you."
Okay.
And I weighed 85 pounds. What do you mean?
Right, right.
And if they think you're anorexic, I'm not anorexic. I'm a coke addict, damn it. There's a distinction.
Right.
So I realized that last door to the world was going to close.
Right.
And I just couldn't go on. I wanted to live, Jay.
But I know you're joking. You say that joking, but honestly, you have to get to that point of like, I want to live, which is dramatic, but I want to change my life.
Yeah.
I want my life needs to be different.
Yeah.
In order to be a life. Mm-hmm. Right. And so, fantastic.
And I didn't know that I could ever live that way.
Right.
I mean, I checked myself into a chemical dependency program, not knowing that I would be completely off everything. I thought I'd be taught to use drugs in a civilized way.
Right.
Maybe
you had to convince yourself of that to enter into the program.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine living any other way.
Right.
Because I'd been doing that since I was 13.
Right.
So I've now been clean longer than I ever used.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And more than half my life.
That's great.
Yeah.
I know, really. I'd say that's great. Like, that's great. But
Well,
that's really an accomplishment. Anytime somebody talks to me about people who conquered their addictions, because I'm still food addicted. I have many of my own addictions that
I understand food addiction. I love food.
Me too. And it's hard to go cold turkey.
I know. You can't.
Literally. Yeah. So you have to find new ways to process, new ways to be. And it's all very difficult to change the things that you're used to. But then when you do really embrace change, I found that it's pretty good.
Yeah, well, food is the hardest.
Yeah.
It's the absolute hardest.
Yeah.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.
I have some questions for you. This is now something we like to call question time.
Okay.
It's question time.
This is from Maynard, who says, "What's something you'd still like to do or experience that you haven't done yet?"
Well, I'd like to go to Iceland and see the Northern Lights.
Impossible. Put it out of your head.
Okay.
It can't happen.
It's just...
It can't happen.
All right,
Yeah.
let's just throw
All right.
that dream away. That's one thing.
What's stopping you from going to Iceland?
I just haven't done it yet.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Is there a season? Is there a Northern Lights season?
That's what That's what stopped me, Jay.
Right.
I can't figure it out.
There was some information highway
it was available
that had
if
access
only I could
to when the Northern Lights.
push a button and find out.
If you could ask your phone, then we do it, but you can't. That's ridiculous. But okay. If anybody out there knows when the Northern Lights are happening, please send it into dbawjk@gmail.com, and then we can get the information right to Laraine, and she could sort of plan her trip to Iceland.
Yeah.
Grumpy Cat asks, well, that's not a question. It says, not a question, but I know her daughter is awesome in Hacks, one of my favorite shows. Not a question.
Oh, that's lovely. I love hearing that.
You take the pro, I'll take the con.
Okay.
So she's good in Hacks?
She is. She's very good in Hacks.
I don't know.
Well,
could be better.
I mean, everybody, that's what makes horse racing,
so.
Jay.
No,
everybody has an opinion.
She's fantastic. I do love that show. I love that it is about show business.
But it's so beautifully written. It's so idiosyncratic.
Right. And it's about this mother-daughter relationship and this sort of work relationship, mother-daughter relationship that is so deep and fantastic. Interesting. I never even thought about it. As the mother of Hannah, and you watch the show, do you get like, does it hit you differently because you're actually her mother?
Well, they also have the character of her daughter, beautifully played by Kristen Olsen.
Right. But that she's problematic. The character is problematic.
Yeah. But, it's so funny. There is so much lesbian fan fiction that does these compilations on Instagram of all these scenes that just, compilations of scenes of them fighting and making up and, so I don't know that it's necessarily mother-daughter. I think it's something
okay, maybe it's more than that.
Different.
I see it starting out as a work relationship and becoming familial. It feels that closer than work relationship. But what do I know?
I know that Jean is really good to Hannah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Really sweet to her, and
she's so talented.
Yeah,
so great.
They love each other very much.
Yeah, that's nice. It's nice to have that kind of actual working relationship when you go to a place where you like everybody and you trust them and you feel that and I think that's true on that show where
it's an extraordinary cast.
Great if you're a writer on that show, you feel the cast elevates your work, and if you're an actor on that show, you feel like I'm getting really good material to work with.
That's what Hannah feels.
Northern Snow Dog says if she'd be willing to share an insightful recollection of Shelley Duvall.
I loved Shelley. She was very entrepreneurial. Of course, she did fairy tale theater. And I actually had a pilot that she optioned. And I loved working on that with her. It never really went anywhere, but we became friends, and there were games of Pictionary at her house, and she had a room that was completely dedicated to her birds.
Okay.
She was genuinely eccentric and a delight. A really good person.
I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
I never met her, but she seemed incredible as an actress.
So sweet.
And a sense of kindness did flow from her performance.
And very smart.
Yeah.
She's very smart.
I got that sometimes. She didn't always play the smart characters.
Right.
But I did get a sense of kindness for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry she's gone. So Patrick Rollo. Is it okay that 50 years later, I still have a crazy crush on her?
Oh.
All right. Well,
that's so nice.
It's okay, Russ.
It's perfectly okay.
Patrick, it's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
And if you happen to have a crush on me,
bring it on.
Hello. I'm right here. All right. For the right price, I'll help you out. I'll start an OnlyFans page. I'm just saying I'm available. And also the AI people, the offer still goes from before. All right. Russ says, could you ask about the highlights or lowlights of filming Holy Moses?
Oh, my God. Well, there was a time when they made these comedy salads, and they would just have every comedian just slugged in there.
Right.
I remember, I think the byline for it was, Holy Moses, what a cast.
Right.
Which is almost like, when they used to say, this is very misogynistic, but when a girl was not necessarily attractive, but she sure can dance,
Okay, right.
or she's got a good personality. That was kind of like, what a cast.
Sure.
But I became friends with Dudley Moore, and he and I just laughed our guts out
Oh, good.
the whole time. We had so much fun. And I think Jack Gilford, the character actor Jack Gilford, was, we were out in the desert and it was hot. And
Right. I remember him from the Cracker Jack commercials when I was a kid.
Oh, that's right.
So
oh my
that's-
God, I completely forgot about
but
those.
Sure, but Jack Gilford.
But he, he was exhausted and he said, it should say Jack Gilford schlepped here. He was great.
But that's great that you had a good time.
Yeah, I mean, we knew that it was not that good,
Right.
but we did have a great time.
John Marcus says, I remember a rumor that Robert Shaw was injured by the shark in Jaws. Did Laraine experience the same thing at SNL when she was attacked by the land shark?
Well, the land shark was made of foam rubber.
People get hurt. People get hurt with foam rubber.
Yeah, no, not the shark, but there was one time I almost drowned on the show.
Oh.
We had a sketch, Theodoric of York, and it was Steve Martin as like a healer.
Right.
And, it was the whole thing of,
Was he medieval barber?
Medieval barber.
Yeah, right.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I saw the show. Yeah.
All right. That's right. I forgot
yeah.
that. But the old test of like, if she floats,
Right.
she's a witch.
She's a witch. And if she drowns, then she's a person.
not.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to go into this basin, this kind of tub.
Right.
And there's the set, and then there was like an opening, and I was supposed to swim upside down underneath the set to come out the other side of the set. And during dress rehearsal, because my clothes were so heavy,
Right.
it was a struggle.
Oh, no.
And I really had that moment where I thought,
Not going to make it.
This is it.
Oh, wow.
What a way to go.
Wow. Rehearsal.
And so, all during the actual air show, my mouth was so dry because I was so fucking scared
Right.
about that bit.
All right.
But it was fine.
And the crew, I'm sure, was warned?
They were, I had told them what had happened.
Best crew in show business, at least always has been.
Absolutely the best crew.
Yeah.
I mean, heroic as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Absolutely heroic.
We have one more thing to do, which is the moment of joy.
A moment of joy.
What is something that brings you joy on a regular basis, or not even a regular, but just brings you joy that you can share with me, and maybe it'll bring me joy?
Well, there are a lot of things that bring me joy.
Okay.
I love seeing a good TV show, a good crime drama. I love seeing new people at the Groundlings, new stand-ups. I love a great meal. I love, most of all, seeing my children happy.
Yeah.
And thriving. That's probably, I think you understand this as a parent. There is no greater joy in this world than knowing that your kids are okay and happy.
I'm the opposite. I want to see him struggle,
right,
and be miserable,
crash and burn,
so that I can rescue him.
Right.
So
yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's all about
Munchausen by proxy. I can dig it. Yeah.
No. Of course, I want to see him. But I mean, that's easy. Like, I feel like our kids are giving us joy all the time.
Yeah.
It's like and I almost should exclude that, but movies, great piece of art.
Great meal.
A great meal, fantastic.
Yeah, a good book, anything that I get inspired very easily, and I'm grateful for that.
Let me ask you this. What inspired you to write your book?
There are so many motivations for writing a book, but
I know, but I mean,
I felt like at first I thought, well, this is self-indulgent. Who the hell cares? But I realized that I had a lot of really fun, interesting stories.
Right.
And I felt like I want to tell these stories, because I felt like I was so much a part of cultural events, whether it be, I lived through the 60s,
right,
the music scene here in Los Angeles,
right,
which I was very, detailed about my experience. I saw Jimi Hendrix, I saw the Beatles, I saw Janis Joplin.
I slept with them all.
Yeah, I had them all.
Right.
Anyway, so there was that.
Yeah.
There was the beginning of the Groundlings.
Right.
There was SNL. There was the beginning of animation becoming what it is today.
Right.
and the people that I worked with on that, becoming a parent, which I'm the only person that ever became a parent.
I know. Well, that's kind of the thing. When you write a book, you're putting yourself in the position of expert, but you're not necessarily you're just telling your life.
Right. No, from my perspective, I feel like I've had a privilege, many privileges of being able to have a front row seat at all these cultural events in our country. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I felt being a second in command of the Trump campaign. I'm right there,
and
seeing where the magic is happening.
How could you not feel that way?
Yeah, it's all good. Now, I think it's very. My wife is a book writer and has written books, and May You Live in Interesting Times is a great book, and I listened to it. I did not.
That's the only way you could have ingested it, because it's not in print.
Yeah,
it was strictly an audible product.
Well, that's how I did. I didn't.
Well, thank you for listening to it.
Okay, but even if it was written, I would only listen to it, because I'm auditory. That's how I do it.
Okay.
But I loved it,
Thank you.
I thought it's kind of also difficult to you're not just vomiting your life. You have to pick out what you're saying and what you're not saying, and what the order is and how things go, and that's a very daunting task.
Well, I worked with a wonderful editor named Paul Slansky, who had actually edited an article I wrote for Esquire while I was still on the show. And, I had so much material, Jay, just a ton, and I did not know how to get through it. Yeah. And he really helped me to cull and say, this is interesting, this is boring, nobody wants to know this, and I needed someone to help me with all of that, and organizing it, and fact-checking, and chronology, all of that. He made such a difference.
Will it be a May You Live in Interesting Times Part 2?
I don't know. I've thought about it. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think. I need a new project. Yeah. I can tell you that. Because there's only so many episodes of Prime Suspect.
Sure. How about May You Live in Less Interesting Times, and then do the other stuff?
That'll sell, I can tell.
I'm a business guy.
Yeah.
I'm always thinking about great ideas.
You're an idea guy.
Yeah, an idea guy. It's fantastic. Well, Laraine, thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. This was so fun.
Of course. Well, many people decide to come here instead of amusement parks. They come to sit here and talk with me because it's that much fun.
Well, this is better than Colossus.
Yes.
All right.
It is true.
It
is true. Well, how did you feel when Magic Mountain showed up? You were around when Magic Mountain first showed up.
I was at CalArts when it showed up, and I love roller coasters.
Yeah. Okay.
And Colossus is one of the last of the wooden roller coasters.
Correct.
In fact, I don't even know if it's still running.
I think it is. I think it's still there.
I hope it is.
Yes.
But
I was impressed. Like, there was Knott's Berry Farm, and we had Disneyland, and there was also something called Buena Vista Deer Park or something like this.
Oh, that's right.
They had some but then Magic Mountain showed up, and it's like a real amusement park.
Yeah, it was really thrills. Yes. That's what it is. Was thrills.
Right. So, Laraine, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I love you, and
I love you too, dear.
I enjoy. I hope when the workshops begin again, we'll be performing again.
Fun. I love your whole family.
And
actually,
thank you. My family loves you, and you do remind me of my sister Jill in many ways. Yeah, in your forthrightness, my sister was very honest and very sweet and very direct and funny. And you're many of those things.
I thank you.
So it's so I always had
a
feeling as though we have a family bond, even though we absolutely don't. But that's
Honey,
fine.
We're Jews.
Maybe that's it. Maybe we feel oppressed together.
Yes,
that's good.
That's
fantastic.
Right.
All right. Well, good. Well, thank you for being here, and thank you for being here, the lovely audience. Remember to write in at dbawjk@gmail.com and give me your questions, your complaints. Subscribe, and come back again. And don't be alone. Spend some time with somebody else and talk to them.
That's right.
For God's sakes. All right. Talk to you next time.
Don't be alone with Jake Hogan.